Inspired by the Warlock films, a child would commit one of the most vile murders. Hello, true crimerers. This is the case of Jonathan Thimpsen. Viewer discretion is advised. This case occurred in the then small mining town of L'Orange, which is located in Saskatchewan in Canada. Jonathan George Thimpsen was just 7 years old. He was born on December 30th, 1987. He did not get a chance really to live because another child brutally killed him. Jonathan would be reported missing by his family on July 8th, 1995. Just a couple days later, on July 11th, 1995, the body of the 7-year-old boy was found. He was found just a couple hundred yards away from his grandmother's house. Jonathan Thimpsen had his throat slashed and his head had been crushed in. He was also missing skin from several parts of his body. It looked as if someone cut chunks or strips of flesh from him. Within a very short amount of time, they would arrest this 14-year-old kid. He was arrested along with his 7-year-old accomplice. And soon the horror of what happened would come to light. Jonathan Thimpsen, this sweet little kid whose hero was Zorro, just this innocent child, just so happened to cross the path of someone who was very mentally unwell. It would come to light that Sandy Charles was obsessed with a certain movie series, Warlock and Warlock 2 from the mid to late 80s. You know, there's Satan stuff, there's devil worshipping and whatnot. And so he, along with this 7-year-old friend of his, just crossed the paths with Jonathan Thimpsen and abducted him. They then drug him to a secluded location where the 7-year-old boy was stabbed, beat. They tortured him for quite some time by cutting the skin from his body, which later they would find out that this kid took those pieces of skin home, dried them out or cooked them, and he ate them. He would later go on to state that, based on the movies Warlock, if you drank boiled down fat from a virgin, it would give you the power to fly. Sandy thought he was going to be able to fly. A competency hearing had to be scheduled because they didn't know if he was mentally well enough to go to trial. He would plead not guilty by reason basically of insanity. Now, the 7-year-old accomplice was not arrested officially and not charged with anything. Despite that individual being there and present and helping, there is an age limit, I guess, that criminal responsibility in Canada begins at 12. So you cannot be held accountable for murders or any crime under the age of 12. But he was 14. He goes to trial and the jury comes back with a verdict, not guilty by reason of mental illness. And it sounds like they were able to truly establish that he was just very, very mentally unwell, that he believed the things he thought was going to happen. He was seen by numerous professionals and they all basically agreed. So he will not go to prison. However, the day the verdict came back, he was immediately put into psychiatric care. And to my knowledge, my understanding is that he still remains in psychiatric care. I guess he's been given a little bit more room to wander, but he is still there. At one point, he assaulted a nurse in the hospital and knocked her to the ground, which caused him to have to go to court again, which he was sentenced to 1 day in jail, time served. But he's put right back in the hospital. I don't know if the signs were there, if his parents noticed or what. I don't know. But obviously someone failed that child because of that, an innocent 7-year-old boy was tortured and murdered. There can probably never be forgiveness for his killer, but that's also not for me to decide. All I know is that a 7-year-old kid was just being a kid. And then he was tortured, his skin removed, stabbed, had his head crushed in. It was a nightmare for him. And while technically justice wasn't really served, at least his killer is locked away somewhere where he cannot do this type of thing, hopefully, ever again.